Hey all, it's been a while since I've done one of these, but I'm really, really excited for this one. Let's talk about Stars Align. And we all have that one show which you watch and you really, really enjoy, and then you realize you're the only person who's watched the show. Or it feels like that. It feels like no one else has seen the show. No one that you talk to. It's not talked about online at all, whether it's a good show or a bad show. It just seems like no one has seen the show. And that's a shame for this show, and I'm going to get into why. Stars Align is about a young boys soft tennis club, which these aren't like very motivated kids. They're just in middle school, they're goofing around, and they don't want their club to get disbanded, so they have to win one match. And what I love about the show, it really captures some of the struggles of youth and growing up in that time and trying hard at something for the first time when you're young. And that's something that most coming of age things I don't think focuses enough about is the moment when you actually try hard at something for the first time and some of the struggles with it and some of the struggles of growing up. I mean, this is a point where I'm explaining the coming of age genre, but this is a point where the kids are at a very developmental time in becoming an adult in a lot of ways and dealing with some more real life problems. And it's really interesting to see how the show balances that with the sports. And this isn't a stereotypical sports show, which is partially why I love it so much. As you see in the poster back over there, Haikyuu is one of the most influential. I'm a huge fan of the show, and it's one of the most influential shows in anime because it warped the sports genre. Most sports shows, in some ways, are trying to be Haikyuu. And what I love about Stars Align is this show's not trying to be Haikyuu at all. It's not even trying to be a sports show. Yes, the sport is what holds the show together. It's the glue. But this is a drama more than it is a sports show. It's more about the kids. It's not about the tennis, which I love. It's about the characters and their growth and their development and why winning a tennis game is this important. And this is something I can relate to in real life. Is it feels like what happens with this show is when they're doing the tennis, it's like the kids' worries and the things they are like ashamed of, they all go away. They can just purely enjoy the tennis and try to win. However, the minute they stop playing tennis, that's when real life comes back in and just almost kicks the shit out of them. That's the moment where it's like, oh yeah, when I'm playing sports, everything's good. But the minute I have to come back to my real life, there's immediately like a kick in the face by something. And I think that's very relatable from someone who's played a lot of sports and felt that way about sports. Is when I'm playing, I love it. And then the minute I stop playing, all my social anxiety comes back. All this comes back. And I think the show talks about very relatable and understandable problems that not a lot of shows talks about. I don't want to get too spoilery into it, but like the themes of the show very work and all the characters are very, very relatable. At least the main characters. And the characters that are not relatable, they're not meant to be relatable. You're not supposed to like them. That's kind of one of the things the show also does. If a character is supposed to be unlikable, they go hard in the paint in that to the point where it's almost, I wouldn't say it's cartoony, but some criticisms of the show is that some of the more villains or unlikable characters definitely are very, very much on the unlikable side. Maybe to a cartoony point. I didn't feel that way. I feel like they could have still been real people because I think real people can be pieces of shit all the time, but like it's definitely like goes hard in the paint on that. And this is a show that also it won't I understand why it's underwatched and why people don't watch it because if you look at the like almost thumbnail for it on Hulu, it's very forgettable. And the animation doesn't really stand out at you. In fact, the animation I would argue isn't great. It's clear they didn't put any money into this show, but the animation doesn't need to be great. And I would say its simplicity and its blandness sometimes work to its advantage. It feels more like real life than most anime do in a lot of ways. And it's a show that I remember watching. I was like, oh, yeah, this is good. I'll try it out. And then I just get slowly more invested and then slowly more invested. And before I realized it, it was one of my favorite shows of the seasons. I really, really thought the pacing was really, really well done. I just really, really enjoyed everything about the show, but I do realize why it's underwatched. It's not one of those shows that grabs out at you. It's very much very subtle in what it does correctly. And if you're not into the subtlety of like storytelling, I can see you thinking the show is kind of boring. I can totally see a bunch of people who have seen the show watch me and be like, "What the hell are you talking about? Was just a kind of boring, like no, show that kind of happened." I it's and some people could even see it as forgettable. I thought it was really well done, and I remember almost every moment. But it is a show that's very subtle to a fault sometimes, and why it's underwatched. The animation style doesn't really grab out to you. It's very generic in a lot of ways. And it's on the pacing side. I thought it was paced perfectly, but it is a very slow paced. And the last thing I will say is I love the ending of the show, but it's a very controversial ending because it does, and I don't want to spoil into it, but it's something where it's like it's going to divide people. I think the ending was so good, you don't need another season for it. You could say the show ended and we'll never get another season. I would be like, I am so satisfied with that ending, and I think it's a very well done ending. And the reason they ended it like that was some behind the scenes stuff about budgeting and stuff. But I think there will be a lot of people who look at this ending and be like, wait, that's how they're ending it? There's no closure. I mean, it's one of those. But I thought it was done very well. It's one of those shows that I think people should try out because listen, it's a show that I really enjoyed, and like I got really invested in the characters. And I think it's one of those sports shows that doesn't feel like a sports show, which I love. It feels more like a human show than a sports show. And I just really enjoyed the journey. But as I said, if you're into more high-paced action, if you really want to be like invested into the sport and want these high animation, very high quality animation sports scenes, like high Q. Like if you're looking for high Q, again, geez, if I can move my head right, you see the poster back there. I'll get it right at some point. But if you see that, if you're looking for a show like High Q, this isn't it. But if you're looking for a unique sports show that really has some likable main characters and relatable struggles, and that will tackle some things that I think are very important, I think this might be the show at least to try out. And listen, you might be like me, and slowly and slowly and slowly, as you watch the show more and more and more, just get to the point where you're super invested in the show. I think it's at least worth a shot, and I think it's clear that there is a lot of love and effort put into the show, and so I would highly recommend it. This is my review of it. Come check out all our other reviews. I'm going to be doing more of these more often. I know I took a bit of a break, but I'm really excited to keep doing this, keep shouting out these shows that I think deserve more love. So I will see you all next time.